Daniel, as we have said before, forms the template for the book of Revelation. Now, if you study Daniel 7, you'll see that the attributes given there will be taken up again in Revelation 13. So the same system will be described in a different format in Revelation chapter 13.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Now the beast of Revelation 13 is a conglomerate of what we had in Daniel chapter 7. There are various aspects surrounding this animal. It has the head of a lion, the mouth of a lion. Now the lion represented Babylon in Daniel chapter 7. Then it has the feet of a bear, and the bear represented Medo-Persia. And then it has the body of this leopard, and the leopard represents Greece in Daniel chapter 7. And then it has the 10 horns and these 7 heads, and these 10 horns represent the 10 kingdoms that we have in terms of the creatures in Daniel chapter 7, and the toes of the statue in Daniel chapter 2. So this is a conglomerate beast having components, philosophies if you like, of Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and Babylon. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. It therefore has Greece in it, and the Roman Church certainly has the philosophy of the Greeks in it, because it supports Aristotle and all of these great philosophers. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. Does Rome have Medo-Persian philosophy? Absolutely. Mithraism is the main thrust of the religion. It even has the triple crown, which comes from Medo-Persia. And the mouth was the mouth of the lion, is the Babylonian religion of Isis and Osiris, of Baal and Ashtoreth. Are all these religions embodied in it? The answer is yes. But the sad story is that the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And the dragon is none other than the devil.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
So that is the 1,260-year period, 538 to 1798. One of the heads seemed to have a mortal wound. So in this time period, it seems to die, but it doesn't really die. It actually goes underground. But as a beast, it dies because it loses political power. And then that political power will be given back, and there is a resurrection of this beast. This is what the Bible is saying. So in 1798, Berthier entered Rome on the 10th of February 1798 and proclaimed the Republic, thus fulfilling this prophecy to the letter. Half of Europe thought Napoleon's veto would be obeyed, and that with the Pope, the papacy was dead. Modern papacy, Reverend Joseph Rickaby. So exactly 1,260 days. The murder of a Frenchman in Rome in 1798 gave the French the excuse to enter. Church history says, and they carried him off into exile, the Pope, and the beast received a mortal wound. And I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. It's interesting, the papacy had received a mortal wound and became insignificant in the eyes of many. But in 1929, the smallest state in the world was once again established. So here was something that had received a wound, and now it rose again. So in 1929, Gaspari signed the Lateran Treaty, and the Vatican States came back into existence. And the San Francisco Chronicle said, Mussolini and Gaspari sign historic Roman pact. The Roman question tonight was a thing of the past, and the Vatican was at peace with Italy in affixing the autographs to the memorable document, Healing the Wound. It's like they're quoting from the Bible. Extreme cordiality was displayed on both sides. Fascinating story. So a power seemed to have a mortal wound and then rose again. And all the world wondered after the beast. Now surely that's not possible. Not everybody is going to follow Catholicism, or are they?
And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
And they worshipped the dragon. So if you follow the system, unwittingly, you are actually worshipping the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, because it is a deception. Jesus Christ has been replaced by this antichristos system, something in the place of Jesus Christ, and they worship the beast. So if we worship the system, we're actually worshiping the dragon.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
So this religious political entity would blaspheme God, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months, Revelation 13 verse 5. So it would do this openly, publicly, for those 42 prophetic months. 42 months, 42 times 30, 1,260 days, a day for a year. I've given you a day for your year, Ezekiel 4 verse 6.
And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
That is a prophetic statement. This system will control how much of the world? All of it. All of it. So power was given over the saints during the 1,260-year period, but this power would control the whole world. Stanley's history says the popes filled the place of the vacant emperor at Rome, inheriting their power, prestige, titles from paganism. Constantine left all to the Bishop of Rome, which is not true, but nevertheless, the papacy is but the ghost of the deceased Roman Empire sitting crowned upon its grave. So we have an emperor. He even has the title. He even has the title Pontifex Maximus, which belonged to the Roman emperor. So in effect, the Pope is the emperor of Rome today. Has the church persecuted? Western Watchman, Catholic source? Yes, it doesn't deny that it has persecuted, that it has used the severest penalties, even death, and had the state execute these penalties. So 1798, the papacy gets a mortal wound, receives a mortal wound. He is killed with a sword, as he has killed with a sword before that. And now the prophet looks around. We have a date, 1798.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Now if sea represents peoples, multitudes, nations, tongues, then what must earth represent? A place where you do not have a multitude of peoples and nations and tongues. And I saw another beast, another political entity, coming up out of an area on the planet where there are not peoples and multitudes and nations. So it cannot be Europe, it cannot be Asia, it cannot be those Middle Eastern countries. Here comes another political entity. And it had 2 horns like a lamb, so it has lamb-like principles, but it'll speak like a dragon. That's interesting. Revelation 13:11. Now who's this power? Well, let's go to the early reformers. These people were magnificent. I have so much respect for these early reformers. John Wesley, in his notes on Revelation 13, written in 1754, says, the 2-horned beast, he is not yet come, though he cannot be far off. For he is to appear at the end of the 42 months of the first beast. Now the reformers all clearly said, Rome is the antichrist. They were watching it, and now they say, well, this other beast can't be far off. The question is, which power arises at exactly this time in an area where there are no great multitudes of nations? There's only one that qualifies, and that would be the United States. Now, many years ago, these images were already interpreted as such, although the United States was a relatively insignificant power. Let's have a look at the rise of the United States and see if it fits. The Declaration of Independence was in 1776. The independence was acknowledged by the nations of the world in 1783. In 1787, a Constitution of the United States was framed. 1791, the Bill of Rights was added. And in 1798, the very year that Rome receives a mortal wound, France, the mightiest power in Europe at that time, recognizes the independence of the United States. So the same nation that gives the papacy a mortal wound, in the same year recognizes the United States. So it receives a mortal wound. He looked, the prophet, and he saw another beast arise.
America was founded as a Christian nation, but it was also founded as an occult nation. And there have always been two parallel forces here in America. One the Christian, one the occult, dating back into the 1600s. And until you understand that, you can't understand anything going on in the world today.
From the very beginning, those who were trying to establish the nation of America and formulate the laws that would govern her people were caught between two agendas. The one agenda had lamb-like qualities that sought to avoid repeating the oppressive history of a Europe ruled by papal religio-political authority. The other agenda, although it outwardly preached liberation, was striving to set up an occult-inspired order that would finally lead all nations back to Rome. In Rome, all the mystery religions, from ancient Babylon and Egypt to the various other pagan cultures whose spiritual roots went back to the Tower of Babel, found their fulfillment. In her and under her supervision, and only under these circumstances, would man be able to experience 1,000 years of peace, the fulfillment of the Aquarian dream and its new Atlantean society. Rome fought hard to destroy the lamb-like attributes of the American Constitution. Through her secret army, the Jesuits, and the various other sinister organizations she controlled, she infiltrated American society and government, and where necessary fomented discord, controversy, and division.
And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
So we see that this second beast, which is America, the USA, causes all of the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, which we know is interpreted as Rome, whose deadly wound was healed. So Rome's wound was healed in 1929 by the Lateran Treaty, which established Rome as an independent sovereign state once again. And we know that after this, that America would cause the world to worship this entity, which is known as the Roman Catholic Church, or the Vatican, or the Papal State.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
So after 1929, was there a time when America caused fire to come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men? The Bohemian Grove in Northern California is particularly famous for a Manhattan Project meeting that took place there in September 1942, which subsequently led to the atomic bomb. During the final stages of World War II in 1945, the United States conducted 2 atomic bombings against Japan in the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, doesn't this appear to be fire from heaven? This happened in 1945, which is after 1929, when the wound was healed in Rome. And America fulfills this prophecy by making fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Now, did America do this after 1929? John Logie Baird was an engineer and inventor of the world's first working television system, also the world's first fully electronic color television broadcast in America. The television is definitely worshipped today, and when powered, it is always speaking. It is telling a vision, or in other words, speaking an image. This is the speaking image, which causes the world to accept Catholic principles and Catholic ideas and glorifies the Roman Catholic Church. The Bible says that whoever would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now obviously this has not happened yet, but it is coming very soon, maybe in the form of something else like an holographic image, or who knows, we will definitely be seeing soon.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Now, after 1929, what else did America do other than cause fire to come down from heaven and to create an image that could speak, which caused the world to wonder after Rome? We see that the USA also created universal product codes. They are small coded labels that contain information in a numerical code, usually containing 12 digits. UPCs are easily scanned by laser beams. Norman Joseph Woodland and Bernard Silver patented the UPC in October 1952 in America. The UPC was also improved and adapted by David Collins in the late 1950s. UPCs were first used in grocery stores in the early 1970s, and every UPC in the world contains, guess what, 3 sixes on it, and must be used in the buying and selling of products. Now, if you take a close look and examine any barcode in the world, if you take a product off the shelf and look closely, there are 3 sixes. They are on the left, the middle, and the right, and they are unnumbered. The only reason we know that they are 6s is because if you take a look at the 6 on the barcode, directly above it you will see 2 thin bars, and on the left, the middle, and the right of the barcode we see these 2 thin bars are repeated, hence the 666. So America, as an oppressive kingdom, came out of an unpopulated area, or a relatively unpopulated area, and it resembles or has Christian principles, but its actions and even its very foundation are satanic. Even the streets in Washington, D.C. are designed to depict a giant upside-down cross, from the Capitol to the White House, and then on to the Lincoln and Jefferson memorials. In the center of this monstrous inverted cross lies the National Monument. The obelisk, used for thousands of years in pagan societies, measures in at 555 feet above ground and 111 beneath, for a total of 666 feet. Also around the Capitol building sits a depiction of a gigantic owl devil perched on top of the upside-down cross, so that during inaugurations people are literally inside the belly of this beast.
Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. It is the number of a what? A man. Well, here's a man. What are the letters inscribed on the Pope's crown, and what do they signify, if anything? The letters inscribed on the Pope's mitre are Vicarius Filii Dei, which is the Latin for the Vicar of the Son of God. So, there it is, Vicarius Filii Dei. And if you add that up numerically, if you give the Latin numerical value to the names, numbers, then you get to exactly 666. And there is no way of getting around that one. For a while there, this mitre disappeared, and the people said there was no such title. But of course it is in the articles of the papacy, though they cannot deny that that title literally exists. 666 symbolizes the union of error. In Greek, you have Greek numerical value. The Latin kingdom, Elatina Basileia, if you add the Greek numerical value, you get to 666. The Italian church, Italica Ecclesia, 666. The Latin-speaking man, these are all official titles of the papacy. They all work out to 666.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
So this woman, sitting on the scarlet beast full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And that, of course, again is the symbol that we had in Revelation chapter 13. If you count the heads,